And we are live.
All right.
Hi.
Hello.
Yep. Hi, I am Esme Addison, and I'm here with Kathy Kaminski, and we are going to be talking about the Enchanted Bay Mystery series on Punchki Day, and Polish food, and Polish culture, and history, and mythology, and all that good stuff. So I'm really excited to finally meet you in person. We've been talking on Facebook and on your blog and just off and on. So it's really nice. Punchki Princess.
I know. Punchki Prince, guess it. Here I am. I know it's so nice to meet you too. We do so much individually when it comes to writing and even on the blogs and things like that. But seeing a person face to face, it's fun. So I'm glad to be here with you tonight.
Right. And so we were just talking offline. So I'm in North Carolina on the coast near Wilmington, and you're in upstate New York.
Western New York.
Sorry,
not the same. It's a peeve of mine.
I don't know the difference. I'm sorry. What's the difference?
If you look and see the state of New York geographically, we're way west.
Okay.
According to everybody in New York City, anything north of them is upstate New York. Okay. West or western. Technically, though, I'm closer to the Rochester area, which is more central New York, but I consider my roots in Buffalo, and that is definitely western New York.
Okay. Is that near like Albany or no?
No.
Okay.
Albany would be considered upstate New York.
Okay. I was just gonna say, because there's a really great cozy mystery series that's set near Albany, the Italian Chef series.
Oh, how funny, because I'm not that one, but there's another one, the Rita Calabrese mystery series, and she's Italian, and she's in around Albany, New York. Okay. Although, and I just started reading the most current book in the series, and they're actually on a second honeymoon in Tuscany, Italy.
Ooh, nice.
So, but yeah, Albany is about 4 hours east of me.
Okay, that's very far. Okay, all right. I need to look at a map, I guess. I'm pretty good with geography. I'm not like I'm not like the bad American that doesn't know geography, but I don't know too much about New York.
Well, pretty much anybody, they hear New York and they just think New York City, which is about 9 hours away from me. Mm-hmm. I'm close to Niagara Falls.
Okay.
I'm an hour and a half from Niagara Falls. Okay. Actually, when I first moved back to Western New York, I lived in Texas for about 10 years. But that's where I joined Sisters in Crime. And when I moved back to Western New York, I'm like, okay, where's my chapter? And then I looked and noticed the closest chapter was about a 3-hour drive and a border crossing away, Toronto.
Wow.
So Toronto's actually closer to me than Albany.
Okay. So you spent some time in Texas. How was that?
Hot. After I graduated undergraduate, I spent a year in Cleveland, Ohio. Then I moved to Texas because I had considered going to graduate school there. I decided not to, but I loved it so much, I moved there. And unfortunately, that was just the time when everybody was saying what a great place it was to live. Everybody started moving there. Rents skyrocketed. The infrastructure couldn't handle it. So I do love Austin, or I loved what it was when I was there. I've been gone for over 20 years now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been there a couple times for writers' conferences. I've only seen the airport and like the hotel. That's it. No times, but I want to go back and spend some more time.
It's pretty. Yeah. There are lots of things
like July or August when it was crazy.
Yeah. Things are, yeah. But I'm glad I'm back north. I needed to get north of the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah.
No offense, North Carolina.
None taken. None taken. So my latest book is A Hex for Danger. What did you think about Hex for Danger?
Loved it. Loved it. In fact, you can find my review. Anybody watching can go back to cozyupwithkathy.com and well, actually it's cozyupwithkathy.blogspot.com and check my review. What I really like, actually, the first book I really enjoyed because I was seeing all those Polish connections coming in, and that yeah, no, really. But that really caught me, and I like exploring that so much more in the second book. Although I will say, obviously I'm in love with the protagonist, and I love all things, mermaid and Warsaw. But my family, I have family all over the
I remember this
country. Yeah. But the only family that I currently know about and have connections with live in Sandomierz, which is closer to Krakow.
Right.
And of course, in Krakow, we have our Wawel dragon.
Yes.
And it's funny, even before, even without the Polish connection, and even without reading your books, I've always had connections to dragons. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of on the naughty side with your characters.
Right. Well, what I'm trying to show is that, with one of the characters, who has a dragon heritage, he's a little conflicted, but he's good, right?
Yeah. I love him. I have a crush on him. I'll tell you that.
Right. So even I'm like, is he good or is he bad? You know what I mean? Like, I think that he thinks he's good.
Well, I think most bad guys do think they're good.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he could wind up good.
Right. So I don't think it's necessarily the dragons aren't necessarily a bad thing, but maybe there's a tendency for badness that they can fight. But let me backtrack and explain a little bit about my connection to like Polish culture and heritage, and then a little bit about the story for people who don't know who I am or anything about my book. Right. But so I'm married into a first generation Polish family, and have been deeply immersed in the language and the food and the culture and the history, and was really fortunate enough to travel to Poland right before the world shut down, right, just like the year before, and visit my mother and father-in-law who just moved there after being in the States for about 20 years. Got to travel. We went to Warsaw, we went to Krakow, we went through in some little places in between. Krakow and Warsaw. And I learned that the way things are said, they are not correct in English. But yeah, so that's kind of my background with that. And so I have a really wonderful mother and father-in-law who just have always treated me like very wonderful, hospitality and great kindness, and a mother-in-law that has fed me so many wonderful Polish dishes that if you read my stories and you see like a lot of Polish food, that's because there's no way I can't. I literally wrote this just so I could put Polish food in there. I think that was really the first motivation. When I first started about doing this series, I wanted to do culinary. And I wanted it to be kitchen witches, and they were gonna have a bakery. And just in that little small moment of time, most publishers were saying that culinary cozies were like they weren't acquiring them at that time because they were just kind of a glut of them. They were like, no more bakeries, no more, and so I was like, okay, let me figure out something else to do. So that's why there's so much food in mine. But I'm so glad that I did, because I went back to researching and reading Polish history and culture, and then when I discovered the Mermaid of Warsaw, I just like stopped everything, and I was like, there's a myth about a mermaid that I've never heard about. Like, I'm writing about this. So I quickly forgot all about like kitchen witches and thought about herbal apothecaries, because I love to I make herbal remedies, for the last 14 years. I'm very, very deeply into herbal remedies and using herbs. And one of my dream stores would be to own like a herbal apothecary. So Botanica, which this is set in, is the store of my dreams. if I could own that. own a business, it would be that.
And that is so interesting because I do herbal things myself.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. I make perfumes and other, I have other metaphysical things, but I've always been into herbs and potions and that sort of thing.
Okay.
But, cleaning supplies,
Mhm.
and just mainly perfumes and ointments, that kind of thing. Love it.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
another thing we have in common.
Right. So yeah, so I just kind of took some things that from my own life and put. I mean, the story is deeply personal to me. It's a lot. Everything that I like and I love is in the story. So that's the kind of the why of the Polish background and history of the story and why there's the mermaid and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so
Yes.
that's
Even though it's not a culinary mystery per se, food is so important to all of us in all of our aspects.
any culture.
So shove it in there.
Mhm.
And that is the one say, it's funny that you went to Poland right before the world shut down. The same with me. I went for the first time in October of 2019.
Okay.
And that's when I met my family who I'd, never really known about so much. And it was very interesting because I don't speak Polish aside from a few words here and there. And they don't speak English.
Yeah.
Although everything I read was like, oh no, everybody, they all
Yeah,
speak
not
English.
true.
No, my family does
They're
not.
all fine speaking Polish over there.
Yeah. So I was clutching onto, okay, let me backtrack to my Polish history. Now, like I said, I have family, my family comes from all over the country, but we never had any direct connections to those still living in Poland because my family came here in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So, I mean, we've been here for a long time.
Yeah.
But when my mother's mother died, afterwards, she was going through some photographs and she found an address in Poland on the back. And my mom's very into genealogy.
Mhm.
So she wrote to Daniela, who happened to be a cousin of my grandmother. And she's actually a little bit younger than my mom. My mom is now 80. But they started writing letters to each other. And then Daniela's daughter, Gosha, friended me on Facebook. So we started talking, and I've always dreamt of taking a big trip. First, it was going to be on my 40th birthday. Then it was going to be on my 45th birthday. Then it was going to be on my 50th birthday. And then I'm like, if I don't go now, I'm never going anywhere.
Right.
So I went, and Gosha's like, you have to discover your roots. Come with us. And I did. And I met them. And I went, and Gosha, to discover your roots. Come with us. Ooh. I'm hearing myself again. That's weird.
Yeah, sorry. I was checking on the Facebook feed and I think the volume came on. I was just seeing if there's any comments over there.
Are we alone or are people with us?
People are watching.
Oh yay! Hi people. But at any rate, at the airport, Daniela met me with my cousin Jadwiga, which is her niece, and also Adam, which is her grandson-in-law. I clutched onto Adam as much as I could because he was the only one that spoke English. But I mean, talk about hospitality and food. Food. They'd shove food at me and drink at me.
Yeah.
No matter what. I was leaving to drive Adam and Bogdan, another relative. They were going to drive me to Krakow, which is about a little over 2 hours from Sandomierz, where they live. And then Teresa, another cousin, she's giving me beer. Take with me, take with you. Go. So yes, Polish hospitality is a big thing.
Yeah, that was my experience. I was overwhelmed by how much food I was given. And say, for example, we visited 3 or 4 different families over a course of a day. I ate at every stop. I had coffee and cake at every stop. And and I love coffee. Like I'm drinking coffee right now. Like I'm a big coffee drinker, and I literally was like, I can't drink any more coffee. No more coffee. But no, it was really nice. Like I just felt so. I was just very warm. I was just so like friendly, so
Yeah.
everyone friendly and happy and warm, and just welcoming. And that's kind
Yes.
of really I wanted to put that in my series.
Yeah.
With Aunt Lydia, Chocha Lydia, and just the way she's always like feeding her family. Even though she's a little stern, but she's very loving. Um, but yeah, I just those elements are really important to me that I get into the story.
Right. And you feel that, and especially with the food. Especially the kolache cookies. Those are my favorite type of cookies. I love those cookies.
Yeah, I love that.
Surprisingly, I didn't have them in Poland. I need to go back. Well, actually, my one cousin, Tanya, she told me, she's like, you need to come and you need to stay a month at least. I wish I could.
Yeah. We went, there were so many like wonderful bakeries, punchki bakeries, like just, like I took so many pictures of just like food. There's a huge like French pastry influence there as well. And there are lots of just beautiful cakes and like the donuts, the punchki, they're so fluffy and like filled with stuff and just it was wonderful. And I'm a vegan, but I wasn't then, so I ate Polish sausage literally every day.
Yep. Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. I don't eat meat now, but like, and it was like authentic, like hanging from the walls, drying out.
Yeah. And I don't know, did we say that today was Punchki Day?
I don't think so. Yeah, I was just about to mention that. But yeah, let's tell me a little bit about did you grow up celebrating Punchki Day?
Yes and no. It's hard to remember. I know we always had Punchki. But then I've been away for so long that coming back to it, and I've really embraced it even more. So I'm sure growing up we had Punchki. But they say, well, the interesting fact, today in the United States is Punchki Day, Fat Tuesday. However, in Poland, they actually celebrate it the Thursday before Ash Wednesday instead of the Tuesday. So my cousins, although this year they didn't really there wasn't much cause for celebrating this year with everything going on in Ukraine. But traditionally, they would celebrate on that Thursday. And it was a time to get rid of all those fatty foods and eat everything. And in Poland, they say you have to eat like a whole stack of them in order to ensure good crops and a good harvest for the next year.
I like that.
Now,
I mean, all these delicious donuts so that we can have a good harvest.
They are so filling that I did have, and actually punchki is actually the plural. Punchek is the singular. Yeah. But they always say, well, you never say that because you never eat more than one. Right. However, they are so filling, I do eat one at a time. Yeah. So I had one this morning with my mom. I had one this evening, and I'm going to take the rest to work when I go back to work tomorrow and eat then. So I will have punchki. But there are many different traditions. It's kind of, a punchki is kind of like a donut, but a lot better. I always get the black raspberry filling. I asked my cousin Jadwiga, who's in Poland, I said, well, do you go out and buy them or do you make them? And she's like, oh, I make them.
Of course. Everything is freshly made from scratch. There's hours and hours working in the kitchen. Yeah.
Yep. And she does, now this is a traditional filling, which I've never had, and I've never seen it offered here. Rose hip filling. So it's kind of like a rose jelly.
Right. Yeah,
which
but I can believe it.
Yeah, I'm very curious. I'd like to try it. But I actually go to in Buffalo, there's this place, Paula's Donuts, and they only make punchki on Punchki Day.
Nice.
Although they've added another day, so they do it like Punchki Day and the day after, but that's it, and you're never going to get it. And they are fantastic. I will say there's one place that does them better, and I'll never have them again probably, because it was when I was in Krakow. My cousin Gosha, we were walking back to the car to bring me back to Sandomierz, and there was a little stand, and she's like, "Oh, punchki." And so we had some punchki on the ride home, and that was also black raspberry, and incredible. So
Lydia grows her own raspberries in her yard, and I don't know if it's just because raspberries are popular, but that was my husband's favorite. He loves raspberries anything, and so me too. I like raspberry klatchkis, and I like raspberry punchki. It's probably my favorite as well.
Yeah. I mean, I've had when I didn't go to Buffalo in the past, just at the local grocery store here, they had them. Not near as good. But I had lemon, and I have had custard. But from what I was reading, they say the dough is the most important part. It's not even so much the filling is just a bonus. It's the dough that makes it.
Right.
I don't know if that's true or not, but
I wonder if it's like with the kolaczki, they actually I think they put cream cheese in the dough.
Yeah.
It just makes it maybe lighter and fluffier and just more buttery tasting or something. This should look.
I don't know.
You had a recipe, but it was in Polish.
Yes. Yeah, I do have, and I'd be happy to share that, but I didn't. Unfortunately, my cousin sent me just a photograph of the recipe, so I hadn't had time to type it all up, but
I'll probably find one in English online, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's no like Polish bakeries or not restaurants, but stores. Definitely not where I'm at on the coast. When I was in Raleigh, which is where I moved from, there was a store, but they actually, after I guess being here for like 10 or 15 years, they moved back to Poland. So they're not there. But my husband's family, when they came to the States, they were in New Jersey, and they were in this little community that was actually literally all Polish. So they had a Polish bank, Polish bakery, Polish butcher, Polish grocery store. So there was no problem getting those things there.
Yeah.
So when we would visit his family when they were living here, we could go to those different places and get this stuff.
Yeah. There are Buffalo is Polish all over. Same with, Chicago, I think, is the biggest part of the United States with the Polish community. Yeah. Buffalo is probably second biggest, although I will say Buffalo has the biggest Dingo Day festival and actually in the world. I think we beat Poland.
Really? That's
but and it's funny because I still say we, even though I'm not really in Buffalo anymore. I'm an hour away, but I still consider myself Buffalonian. But in Rochester, there are two big kind of Polish, I wouldn't call them grocery stores, but places where you can get Polish food easily. And then there's another Eastern European, which is closest to me, but they're actually more Ukrainian. Yeah. They do have Polish foods as well.
There's a really great restaurant in Raleigh called Jay Besky's, and it's kind of like fine dining, but really, really good. But the owner, either the owner or the chef, I can't remember. I think he's half Polish, half German. So he does just kind of Eastern European. So he gets a little bit of Polish, a little bit of German. But I've eaten there twice. It's really, really good. We had at that time I had the kielbasa and like potato cakes, I think, and some sort of dessert. It was really good. But that's like the only restaurant from like 400 miles. I don't know. It's like it's hard.
Yeah.
I will say that where I'm at in Wilmington, there's actually a nice community, a Polish community. There's a what's the word? They have a festival there. I don't think it's Dinkas. Let me look it up really fast. I just want to check because I was looking for community when I was trying to figure out where to put the story. I put it in the area, which actually is the area that I live in now, because there is really a community that's nearby. Let me just double check. Yeah, so there is a Saint Stanislav Roman Catholic Church here, and so they have a huge festival every year. What is it called? What kind of Polish festival? It just says, oh, I guess it's just a Saint Stan's Polish festival.
Okay.
Every year. Anyway, so let's talk about. I'm trying to think. Cause I do want to talk about the book.
Yes.
Also,
Let's talk about the book.
Well, did you grow up knowing about the Mermaid of Warsaw?
No, actually, I did not. That was a new thing. And again, because my family's not really from Warsaw.
Right.
That was
right. You know the dragons.
I know about dragons. But even then, I didn't really, growing up when I was younger, we talked about Poland, but not so much the mythology around it. So even growing up when I was a kid, I was not like, Vavel dragon. Yeah. I didn't know that back then. So I was slightly familiar with it before I read your first book, but not a lot. So I was excited to read about that, to learn even more about that, because it's very fascinating.
Right. And I guess, it makes sense because mythology is so, it appears to be so removed, from our world, but in my books, it's not. Yeah. And I like all sorts of mythology. And as I publish more books, I think you'll see different types of mythology. I like to make it relevant and see how it actually connects and relates to our world today. And like the history and things like that. So, the way that I even found out about the Wawel dragon was on that trip that I told you about. We went to Wawel Castle, and I just found out this amazing history. Like, my eyes are just like that as he's talking. Like, the writer in me is like, seriously, this castle is built on a dragon's lair? Okay. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to fit this into a book, but I'm going to have to write a book about this as well. And I didn't plan on putting it into the series because I was like, mermaids and dragons, it's too much.
No, it's not.
Okay. Yeah, but at first, and I have an idea for like a middle grade story about some kids visiting and like there's an adventure or something like that. So, but as I was writing this story, I actually was thinking initially that they were going to be sharks. They're going to be descended from sharks. How ridiculous, right? That's so stupid.
Sharks.
Sharks and mermaids, like, they probably don't get along. But as I was writing the story, it just came to me. I was like, no, there's like a history here, and and I didn't even plan it at all. Like, it just popped in my head that this particular character, I don't want to give it away, but like there's another character who's a little sinister, and I was like, that's why.
Yeah,
okay, that makes sense. And honestly, I didn't know until I got towards the end that the Dylan. I'll just say that because you meant it. That wasn't planned either.
Oh,
it kind of came out when he was sharing secrets, when he was kind of talking. It just came out. I was like, oh my God, I'm surprised. Like, I love this.
Well, and it's funny because how you mentioned that mythology is relevant, because I think it is. All kinds of mythology is totally relevant today. But when I was talking to my cousin Gosia in Poland, and I said, I wanted to go visit the Wawel Castle and see the dragon, she's like, Smog! So, they know the name and everything. It's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Even that, I was so amazed, like that word, smoke, it's dragons. I was like, that's interesting that the word that we know really as smoke, fire, comes from a dragon. I was like, were there really dragons? Like, did they have smoke come? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's so interesting that's a thing.
Yeah.
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 Anyway.
And I was excited because when I visited Wawel Castle, they had a special exhibition where you could go into the dragon's lair.
Oh, so I couldn't do that when I was there. What did it
Yeah.
look like? Tell me everything.
I'll show you pictures. I don't know how to screen share. But yeah, but basically you had to go down the spiral staircase down and down and down, basically into a cave.
Yeah.
And then when you popped outside, you were along the Wisla River. Mm-hmm. And there's the statue of Smog that, and he actually puffs smoke.
Right. He wasn't puffing smoke when I was there, but I've seen pictures. Yeah, but just like the whole story of the fact that this castle there is a dragon's lair, and that there are bones that they say, probably but probably dinosaur bones or something. But who's to say that a dinosaur wasn't a dragon? I mean, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I guess I just have my I can believe in things, you know what I mean? But a dragon could have been a dinosaur that flew.
Yeah.
And we don't know. There could have been a way that they had steam or smoke or fire. Yeah. Really, we see fire on cartoons and on the movies and stuff, but it could have just been steam or smoke or something that came out.
Yeah. Paper. Yeah. You never know. Yeah. I will say that I believe in dragons. Whatever form they want to say. I believe in dragons. Yeah. And because actually outside of Poland, in the metaphysical community, there are dragon circles. In fact, right before COVID hit, I joined one.
What?
To call in dragons and dragon magic.
Tell me about this, please.
Well, and it was so disappointing because, like I said, I found this group in Rochester. And I started going to the meetings, and only after about, I don't even think worth a month, COVID hit and everything is canceled. Mm-hmm. And I've not kept in touch with the people, but there are lots of books on the subject too.
So what is the purpose of a dragon circle? This basically my book, by the way.
You call
name Kathy.
You'd call in. Actually, we were led by a witch. She was a practicing witch, and but you didn't have to, follow her path or whatever to join this. And basically, you'd start by calling in the directions like you would with any Wiccan circle, basically, and you're basically asking the dragons for help and assistance because they, in this, I don't know if you'd call it a theory or whatever, but the dragons like to help, but you have to ask them for help.
Kind of like you might ask an angel or your spirit guide. You can ask. Okay.
Same thing. Yeah. And then they will come and help you and protect you. They're big on protection. Protection is a big thing. And they help you find things. Like I remember when I lost my cell phone. I'm not big on cell phones. So, I'm not one of these people that have it with me constantly. It'd been gone for like 2 weeks and I'm like, I've got to find this thing. And, I called on St. Anthony. I called on St. Jude for hopeless causes. I called in, I said, all the archangels. I called in Lord Ganesha who in Hinduism, he removes obstacles. And I called in the dragons. And I'm like, please, I need to find this phone. And I was actually on the computer checking about different, having to buy another cell phone and just seeing what kinds. And as I'm on the phone, I had just said this out loud. And then I said it again and I leaned back and I just put my hand down. And there's my phone in my hand.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I'd sit in that computer chair, every day for 2 weeks. Uh, I'm not saying, I'm just saying it.
Right. Yeah,
And I
that's
said in my hand. I didn't say I needed to find it. I said I need it in my hand. And I just reached out and there it was. So
okay. I'm gonna have to research that dragon circles and
yeah,
sorry.
and I will send you some books, titles and things that I have on the subject. Because I have, I know I have oracle cards. I don't know if any of them is a tarot deck. I don't think so. I think they're all oracle cards, what I have, but I have books on the subject too. So
Okay.
I'll give you a little bibliography.
Okay, no, that'd be great. Yes, that's definitely, that actually will play into my, not the book. Okay, I have a German Shepherd that you may hear. Anyway, not my third book, but the fourth book that I have planned. I don't want to give away like the plot line, but that this will work well with what is going to happen in there.
Oh, woohoo.
There's a character that is maybe doing something like this.
Okay. Oh yeah, I have, and I have other contact information for even more information for you. I'll give that to you.
All
But
right.
now, when is your next book coming out?
It's going to be 2020, so not this year, but next year.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Make
then,
me wait.
I know. Initially, it was going to come out like in the fall of this year, but because there was a point when things were being pushed back because of
Right.
like supply chains and issues like that. So it's going to be next year.
Okay.
And I was a little upset about that at first, but then I'm like, it's fine, because there's what I'm finding is that people are still kind of finding the series. Like I still have people that are like, I just read A Spell for Trouble. Is there a second book? And I'm like, yes. I'm glad, because I actually really want people to read the series in the order.
It needs to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, not every series, and you can pick up a Hex for Danger and understand it, because I did write the very beginning to give like a little recap, but I'm not going to always do that. But it would be better for you to read it from the beginning, so you can just kind of have that background, I think.
Right. I am pretty much in all series. I'm pretty much a stickler for reading in order. Every once in a while, I'll make an exception. And then in some very, very long running series, I may have missed a couple, and then I'll just, come back in. But in so many, the character development is so integral to really, get all the nuances and everything. You need to read it in order.
Yeah. I will never read a series like I have to start at the beginning, always.
Yeah.
A stickler as well. Even if there's like 14 books in the series, I'm like, oh, we got to start at the beginning. Because you want to kind of go along the journey of the characters and see what's happening.
Yeah. I have, in fact, this just happened. An author who I read one of her series, and I didn't realize she started another series. And she contacted me because she said, hey, a while ago you mentioned, that my first series, did you know I had another one? Would you want to review? And I was like, oh, I didn't even know you had another series. Yes, I would, because I really liked her style of writing, and the plot was very interesting. I thought she was going to send me the first two in the series in preparation for her third one coming out in the spring, but she just sent me the second. So I'm like, okay. But
I gotta read the first one.
2 is just close enough. So I'm like, I didn't have time to, so I'm going to go back and read the first. But a lot of times, if you miss the first, get in on the second, it's not as bad. Like, I definitely wouldn't start with third or fourth. That, forget that. And I did it with another series too. So every once in a while, you might get me with number 2, and then I'll go back to number 1.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's what I feel like with this series. I feel like you can enter at 1 or 2. Like, I feel like I said, I did do a little recap in the beginning for the book for A Hex for Danger. And so you can start there and then keep going, but I'm not going to do a recap after that, like was 3.
Yeah. Well, there's too much information. There's too much in there.
Yeah.
And you really should, if at all possible, start with the first, because generally that's my favorite, when you the characters first get involved in this new world and things are first opening up, I think that's the most important part. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about you. Tell me how did you start your blog? Like, when did you discover Cozy Mysteries? Why are you doing a Cozy Mystery blog? Just tell me everything.
All right. Well, I'll start basically in womb. My parents were both book lovers. In fact, my dad was the manager of a college bookstore. My mom, before she was married, was a teacher. And then later on, she became a page at the library. So books were always integral to me growing up. I was never without a book, even before I could read. You know, I remember even before reading, their friends would be sitting on my bed reading me Dr. Seuss. You know, books were always a part of my life. So once I started reading, I never stopped. Genres kind of changed. For a long time, well, I should mention this too. My undergraduate degree is in theater. So I read a ton of Shakespeare because that's, you know, I'll never forget Brother Augustine, the head of the whole program. He's like, if you can do Shakespeare, you can do anything. So read a lot of Shakespeare, that's where I got into Yukio Mishima and some Japanese writing. John Steinbeck from grammar school was a favorite of mine. So I read all the classics, and then I got into romance. I was big on romance, loved the romance. And then I enjoyed mysteries, but it was when I was living in Texas. I was a police officer.
What?
Yeah.
You were a police officer?
Yeah, I was a police officer in Texas, in Austin, Texas. And I went to a book fair because, of course, you know, books got to go. And I found a booth of Sisters in Crime. And I learned about them, and I joined the Deep in the Heart of Texas chapter of Sisters in Crime. And it was so exciting because they had so many published authors in the group. So that's when I started really, really getting into more of mysteries. And all kinds of mysteries, but because I think I was a cop, I wasn't that into the thriller type thing. I wanted a little bit more just the fun murders,
Right.
if you want to say.
A cozy loving cop. You're like a cop. The police is in the Cozy Mysteries.
Yeah, so cozies, traditionals. And then I moved back to Western New York, and I was like, all right, where's my local Sisters in Crime chapter? Where's my local Yeah, the closest one was Toronto, 3-hour drive and a border crossing at 7 o'clock at night. So I'm like, all right, that's not going to happen. Right. Then I eventually discovered that there were lots of published authors in the Western New York area. And at this time, I was also writing myself because I followed Lillian Jackson Braun's The Cat Who series. And James Quillerin, her protagonist, was always, he was a reporter, and he said he could always write 1,000 words on any subject. So I started a blog where I would just write about anything and everything, just so I was writing every single day. And then I thought that, why don't I start a mystery blog? I'm like, I don't want to tax myself. Let me just do maybe 2 posts a week. My Wednesdays will be whatever I'm currently reading, just write a little, thing about that. And then on Sundays, maybe I'll write my own thoughts or something, and reviews maybe. And maybe if I could get an interview a month, that would be good. Well, that was about 12 years ago. Wow. And now I'm publishing a lot more than that, and I have to say no to people. Right. In addition, I went to a book signing in Pennsylvania where a local author, Barbara Early, was signing. And unfortunately, the kids at the front desk at the bookstore told everybody that it was a private event in the back, so they wouldn't let anyone come to the book signing. So that gave us lots of time to talk. And then after several years, Barbara and I created the first Western and Central New York chapter of Sisters in Crime. So I'm now currently president of the Western and Central New York Sisters in Crime chapter called Murder on Ice.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
So
um,
busy,
okay,
busy.
right. So how long have you been the president?
Well, we're a very small chapter. So I was a president, then Barb was a president, then I was a president, then Barb was a president. And then Barb really didn't want to have much to do anymore. And then I became president, and no one else has wanted to become president since. So, so
You're like the dictator. You just
yeah. And it actually, for a long time, it was because not many people were doing things in the group. So I felt like, okay, I'm the dictator, and I had one or two minions, and that was it.
right.
But since the past, actually this year, we've had the most members we've ever had. And we are getting new blood in that are taking on just more roles.
Okay.
So,
Great.
which
So
is exciting.
do most authors know that you have a past as a police officer?
Think so. Most of the ones that I work with, because it's funny, because my friend Lisa, who is the current vice president, she's a published author. She writes the cold case investigative series. And the protagonist is a cold case homicide detective in Buffalo. And she is a retired cold case homicide detective. So we have a connection. In addition to being friends, we have that cop bond, even though I've left the force a lot earlier than she did. I haven't been a cop in over 20 years now.
And how long were you on the force?
Only less than 10 years.
Okay, that's still
Enough to be vested. But I was a patrol officer. That was,
right.
Okay. That was.
That's still, you're still serving the community and protecting serving, whether it was a year or 10 years.
Yeah. So I did that, and I enjoyed my time. And then I came up, like I said, I moved away, and I moved back to Western New York. And instead of going to Buffalo, I'm in Rochester, where I've been working on the forensic unit of a psychiatric center for over 20 years.
Wow. Okay.
So.
Oh, like my mind is blown, because I'm just thinking of like coziness and knitting and like coffee and tea, and like you're like blowing my mind with like other stuff right now.
Yeah. The clientele I deal with are
not cozy.
Not cozy. No, not at all.
A good escape for you then.
Yeah.
As all cozies are for anybody.
Right. But they're, I will say this, the patients I deal with, they're wonderful people. They're just sick. They're just sick. So, that's it. And most of the issues I have at work, I blame it all on administration and coworkers. Very rarely my issues have to do with my patients.
Right. So. Okay. So what do you think about Jack and Camilla in the series? They are law enforcement officials, officers.
It's funny, because now I have to go back, and I should have reread my reviews before coming on, because it has been a while. But no, I really liked. I like it, and I like the fact that she is distancing herself from her abilities. Mm-hmm. So you say to just do the work. Yeah. But I haven't read anything nothing's sticking out with me that says, oh, come on now.
Right. So my brother works in law enforcement. He was a police officer for about 7 or 8 years, and now he does something else, still in law enforcement, but not police force. So I do have like a SME. I do have somebody I can consult with and say, does this sound right? How do you hold the gun? Do you do it like this? I do have a technical person that I can ask, though. So hopefully.
Yeah, because that is important, because there are some times when I'm like,
right.
I mean, the biggest thing, and I will say, and when people, the minute the cop puts cuffs on a person, they said, now I'm going to read you your Miranda rights.
It's backwards, right?
No, you don't have to do that. You're not interrogating them. No. And then my friend Lisa, her biggest thing is female detectives in high heels and having a purse. Yeah.
I don't think Camilla is not a detective, but she always wears a uniform. But I don't think I would ever do that. I would try to be as practical as possible.
Yeah.
Unless you could be like at an event or something. And
Well,
just,
yeah, that's different. But if you're working, no high heels, no purses. So keep that in mind.
So were you able to figure out who done it in either book?
Well, this is what I will say. I never try. I really don't try. I want to be just caught up in the story. And then and I don't think in either of yours I did. Thinking back. And then sometimes though, when I think I know, then I'm like, all right, did I just think this out? Or did they put all these red herrings and then I'm not right? And so, but generally I never go into reading a book attempting to solve the crime. I just kind of try and immerse myself into the story and just see what happens. So I generally don't even try. Although sometimes in some books, not yours, it does kind of like boom, and I'm like, either they let a really big thing that the huge twist is coming at the very end, but yeah.
I really love to, I don't try to figure it out either, but sorry, my dog is going crazy because there's someone in the vicinity of our house. They're within a mile, so he's a German Shepherd. He's quite protective, but I don't go in trying to figure it out either. But I hate it when I do. I'm pretty good at figuring out, and I think it's because I have read so many. But I write, I plot mysteries out so I can kind of see like the structure, of the mystery. So, but when I can't figure it out, that's like a really great day for me when I read a mystery and I can't figure it out, because I can always figure it out. And it's so funny because my dad has watched so many mysteries, TV shows.
Mhm.
Like in the beginning, like his first 10 minutes, they'll show all the suspects, and he's like, that guy did it, and he's always right. And I used to say, like, how do you do that? And now I do the same thing with books. But yeah, I think it just comes, lots of
So that brings up another point. So you are a big plotter versus pantser, or a combination?
It's a combination. I started off as a pantser, and then once I became like a published author with deadlines, and I don't have the luxury to just write whenever I feel like it, this book needs to be done in like X amount of time. So now I plot, because I don't want to spend too much time like writing in circles, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to waste time. I just want to plot it out. So I would say I'm a plotter now.
Okay.
And I enjoy plotting. Like, I like that kind of sitting down to kind of like plan out the story. Because I do that. I do it mentally anyway. I wouldn't write it down. But once you do that, like I said, it's not as concrete as like writing it on paper or a spreadsheet or whatever, so you can refer to it. And so, and I enjoy writing, like the process of writing, but I don't want to like get lost in like, okay, what was I trying to do? What character was gonna, do this kind of thing? And now, like, I want to write more than one book a year. I want to do a couple, maybe 2 or 3. So I really have to like be very stringent about my time and make sure that I plot things out, so that when I sit down to write, I'm writing and not trying to like remember stuff.
Right.
How about you?
I've been working on some stories for a long time now, and I've tried just complete pantser, just writing, and then I tried one method, and now I'm kind of working on another method, and this is the closest I've gotten with this short story, because my first idea was for a whole cozy series.
Mm-hmm.
And I came up with the idea, and I had the characters, and I actually know how the murder was going to happen, and why the protagonist would be considered a suspect. And I wrote a couple scenes, but that was about it. Then I developed a whole other series of short stories with a Polish American living in Buffalo. And all having to do with different Polish holidays.
Okay.
In fact, I have a good portion written of the Dingus Day debacle.
Okay.
But that wasn't going very far. And then I said, okay, I actually started a creative writing group at work with my patients, figuring, all right, well, we're going to follow this method of short story and we're going to write a short story.
Yeah. Well, writing can be very therapeutic.
Yep. And so that's when I started writing Who Stole the Kiszka, which I don't know if you know, it's a very famous Polish polka song. Who Stole the Kiszka.
I don't know that.
Yeah, it is a song. And what happens in this one, it's she takes part in the very first ever Polish American cooking competition for best Polish American cook. And at one stage, she has her kiszka up, and then the judges run out of the locked room. It's a locked room mystery. And they say her kiszka's gone. And they run out and say, "Who stole the kiszka?" Which any Polish American of a certain age knows the song, "Who Stole the Kiszka." So that one's getting closer to being finished. So, but I have all the titles for all the different holidays.
Right. Well, that's a start. That can give you have the title, and you can have the vision comes, and then you can write. So
yeah. But and how I write though is, even if I have things kind of plotted, I write scenes and they're out of chronological order. I just write different scenes and then I thread them all together.
Okay.
So
whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Right.
So someday it'll get finished.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, the writing is fun. It's fun to just, especially if you're just writing for yourself, or if you have a goal to be published one day, you can take all the time you want just to enjoy the process and write. And
right. You see, my problem is I get tied down to writing reviews because I am on a schedule for that. I was like, I have to read all these books, I have to write the reviews in such, amount of time. So it's like, oh, can't, I got to write this. So
yeah. It's hard when you work in an industry where you're also writing, or you have something to do this writing, because then by the time you're done, you're tired of writing, but you just have to figure out, okay, do I write for myself or do I do this thing? So
right. And then working a 40-hour week in addition, so it's like, all right, come home and it's like, all right, let's eat something. All right, Now, here's a question. Now, is the German Shepherd in your book based on your German Shepherd?
So the German Shepherd here, so this one is a female, and she's a short-haired. And so mine is a male, and he's a long hair. And so I actually created the dog in the book before I had my dog.
Oh.
But I knew that I was going to get a dog, and it was going to be a German Shepherd. So I basically created the dog that I wanted and put him in and then so say that he is based on Athena, or Athena is based on him, but yeah, he was the pet of my imagination at first.
There you go. And again, we're talking about mythology, Athena.
right, yeah. And I don't know, I just, yeah. And his name is Maximus, my dog. Oh. And that's not a god, but it's kind of like a Roman.
But, yeah.
I've always really, really loved mythology, and I just find it really intriguing because I always wonder about these stories that now we hear them and we're like, oh, it's a myth, but at some point people believed that these stories were true, and these stories were these are people that they revered and worshipped as gods. They were very important. For us, it's just like a caricature or character in a movie, but at one point in time, they were very important to these people. And so I just find that very intriguing. I want to know, well, why did they feel that way about these people? What did they do? What if they were real people? And now we just believe that they're fake for whatever reason. You know what I mean? Like, I just like to to think about that. And then I like the other thing that I like, which is kind of, along the same lines. I love the idea that magic and science aren't really that disconnected. Advanced technology and magic are really on the same spectrum. It's just a matter of perception. And so I kind of like to explore that in all the writings that I do. But that's,
Well, I totally believe in that. And in fact, if you even think about it, because I do a lot of work in my metaphysical work with crystals. And
yeah,
people are like, well, what about crystals? I'm like, have you looked at your computer lately?
Right.
Hello, quartz, your watches, your just all these things. It's like, okay, come on, people.
In your cell phone, like it's,
Yeah. So yeah, I like that as well. The scientific believability of magic is, people say they don't believe in miracles or anything like that, and it's like, well, look at the sunset. Look at humanity. I mean, come on, how did we get here if not for a miracle?
Right. And it was really interesting when you look at historically things that were considered magic at one point, that now there are explanations, or things that were considered myths that we now have found to be true. Like even now, I don't know how a touch screen works. How do you touch a screen and it moves things? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that there's some technology behind it, but it's like, is that it's kind of magic, Like,
what we're doing right now.
Right. I'm talking to you. Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
Like, how do you take a picture and capture something like in this 3D space, and then it's on a, you know what I mean? Like, we don't really think about those things. It's just in our world.
Yeah. Well, and also, again, medicine.
Yeah.
We talk about herbalism and the herbs, right. Part of modern medicine, and going back to crystals, lepidolite is a stone that's used for anxiety, and you just kind of rub it. It's what they make lithium out of, which is one of the biggest mood stabilizing drugs out there. That's the same thing. So yeah, what's magic is science, and vice versa.
Yeah, I find that endlessly fascinating. So I think anything I ever write is gonna have that kind of theme in it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it now in a like cozy mystery, but it's so cute, but I'm really dealing with like heavier ideas and concepts in this genre. You know what I mean?
Well, and one of the things I like about your series, although it's definitely a cozy mystery, but it's not what I call the cutesy cozies.
Right.
They can be a little too cutesy. I wouldn't call you my mature cozies, because there is another genre. I've kind of created it. They're cozies. They're not quite traditionals, although they could be classified as that, but they're just a more mature, more adult. The themes tend to be just a little bit.
Yeah.
I
know what you mean. Like the first couple of cozies that I ever read, well, the very first one that I read was Sophie Cass, which was very cute. But
not too cute.
Right. And I didn't even know that was a cozy. I didn't know what cozy was at that time, but in hindsight, clearly cozy. I think I thought that was just like chick lit with a mystery. Back then I don't even know. But like Ellen Crosby's Wine Country Mystery. And it's very serious, it's not like, so that series. And then I read Ellery Adams' Books by the Bay, again a very serious kind of series with a lot of history. Those are the two ones that I read, and I thought I want to write a series. So, and the first really kind of fun kind of caperish mystery series I ever read was Bree Baker's the Live and Let Die.
Okay.
That one, Julianne,
Lindsay.
Yeah, Lindsay, her series. It's it's on the beach in North Carolina, and it's lots of food, but it's just very like loud. It's a kind of a laugh out loud type book, and I had never read one like that before. And most of them are like that. Just kind of fast paced and really funny and light, and that is absolutely one of my favorite series. But it's not like the norm of what I write. Sorry, what I read. I really
Mhm.
like cozies that are kind of, not dark, but just like a more serious tone. Um, but have the small town and the food and the tea and coffee and stuff.
Have you read Melissa Bourbon? Um, she has her Book Magic series, which is based in North Carolina.
No, I read the Winnie Archer,
Yeah.
but I read the first book in that series, and I haven't read anything else. But she's on my list because she was local to me, but I moved. But and we were in the same Sisters in Crime chapter. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So is that the latest one that just came out?
The one, yeah, in fact, I wrote a review today. It's the third in the series,
Okay.
Murder Through an Open Door. And that takes place in North Carolina. And she considers that a traditional mystery series. And I kind of agree, kind of cozy, but it is more adult. And definitely when she writes as Winnie Archer, her Bread series, although classified as a cozy, I consider it a more mature, because she touches on these very relevant societal themes, which, is a little more mature. But I recommend both of those.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. And I love anything that's set in North Carolina. That's
Well,
like,
like I said, because I was like, North Carolina. Now the Winnie Archer one is set in California, but the Book Magic is North Carolina.
gotcha. Okay. One thing I wanted to discuss, the two things. One, I wanted to circle back to crystals. I wanted to ask you about that, but also about, so in Hex for Danger, there's a character, Bryce Greenberg, that has a pharmaceutical company. I don't know if you remember that part, but he kind of expressed an interest in learning about herbs that they were, the different herbal remedies that they were creating, and then because he was also making similar medicines, pharmaceuticals
Mhm.
from the same types of things. And I kind of wanted to show that that they kind of come from the same source. There's a lot
Right.
of people that kind of not say look down on herbal remedies, but and maybe not, maybe in the past, because I feel like they are a legitimate like thing. At least they are to
Yeah.
me. I don't know, but
They are to me.
they, yeah, but it's really interesting. I just wanted to kind of bring that into the story, so I use his character to do that. But for example, he was talking to, I think he spoke to Alex about lavender, and then he tells her that he's creating a pharmaceutical based on lavender, but just like very, concentrated, with high concentrations of lavender, for anxiety and PTSD in the military or something like that. But it's like a lot, if you look at a lot of the medicines, and I was in Raleigh, which the RT Research Triangle Park has like a gazillion pharmaceutical companies. It's like software and like pharmaceuticals. That's like everything. It's just like a huge industry there. But it's like a lot of medicines are made, like you were saying, like lithium, like natural things are being replicated to make medicines. And a lot of
Right.
people, I don't think people realize that like medicines come from natural sources.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was a time in history when people only used, that was all they had.
Right.
And they, you know,
Yeah. You'd go into your backyard and pull the herbs that you needed, and then there you go.
right.
Now I'm more like, okay, which essential oils do I have?
Yes,
Or
there's an oil for that.
yeah, exactly.
Literally. Yeah, this lavender. I too, I've got two. I have them always around me.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, I love essential oils. But yeah, and I wish, I don't grow things. Like I want to like have my own garden and like grow things, and there's no reason why I shouldn't, because like I want to go that extra step instead of just like going to Whole Foods and buying lavender essential oils. I want to grow my own lavender. I just haven't done that yet, but I want to be that kind of person that's just like, let me go grab some lavender and
Well,
put it.
I will say I had some beautiful lavender plants going. Killed, the frost got them, because
Yeah.
up in Western New York where I am, it's just, then I had a whole herb bed, and I haven't done anything with it in years. I need to just turn it over and start over. But I was using it more as a culinary garden, and
Yeah.
just there's nothing like going out. Oh, I need a salad. Rip, rip, rip. Here you go. Here's supper.
Right. And it's practical. It's not like there's nothing like crazy about it. You can grow tomatoes and lettuce and cucumbers, and even if it's just to make your own salad.
Yeah.
Like my mother would always have rosemary and lavender plants, and she would go out. Okay, I'm baking chicken and I want some rosemary. Let me go outside and get it off, and which is like I just love that concept of just like having those things around you. But I am not. I don't have despite being a Taurus, I'm not. I don't have a green thumb. I kill plants, which is crazy because I have how you go to the grocery store and you get like the basil plant.
Oh yeah.
And I follow the directions and it's dead. Like I don't know. I've had plans to clear the air in my house and they're like struggling for life. It's like I don't want to do anymore to these plants. But
well, unfortunately, I can no longer keep indoor plants because of my Mystic. Mystic is one of my cats.
Okay.
And he loves the plants.
Okay.
I mean, I had succulents in a terrarium, this high fish bowl.
Mm-hmm.
He'd go in there, dig them out, throw them out, and he likes to play. So he's a little older now, but I still, haven't tried any indoor plants. But maybe this year I'll get my outdoor garden going again. But again, it's a time thing. You work all day, you come home and this and that, and what's going to take precedence? I don't know.
So we're almost ready to wrap up, but I wanted to circle back to crystals because so tell me, I know you kind of talked about it a little bit, but tell me a little bit about your interest, because that's something I have read about crystals. I went through this phase where I bought all the crystals I needed for all kinds of stuff. And I don't know, it's kind of fallen flat for me. Like, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? You know what I mean? Even though I do like to keep, what's it called? I don't think it's tourmaline. The one for your computer energy, like radiation. Is it black tourmaline?
Oh, black tourmaline is good for that.
Shungite.
Shungite is really good for that. Okay. Shungite clears EMF fields. And actually shungite's very good for water too. Shungite was used in Roman aqueducts to help purify the water. So there's another, instance of, here you go. And it's still used in water filtration sites today. Shungite is. But I use them. I'm a crystal reader. I use crystals to give divination readings. I also use them. I don't like to use the term healer, but I can use them for crystal healing. I don't like that term, so I just call myself a crystal reader. But I'm big into are you familiar with chakras? Yeah. Checking which chakras are in or out of balance, and then using crystals to help realign those. Using crystals for different, different things that you need help with. Like I use a bloodstone for pain. I have some health issues that I have Achilles tendonitis and bad knees. And so bloodstone, axonite, Natrolite's another one, but that's expensive and hard to get a hold of. But
if you want to go out and buy crystals again.
I'm kind of addicted to the site. I am a certified crystal master for 2 years now. I take classes. And just learning about the structure and the growth. And I'm in my crystal room now. So, here's some black tourmaline.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Here's a bloodstone generator.
I love crystals. When I have tried to use them for different things, I just felt like they weren't doing anything, which, it's me, but I don't, I just was like, okay, this is not working for me. And I just stopped. Like I went out and spent all kinds of money on crystals, tons of crystals. And then did different things. And I feel like I was like,
well, the one thing is, and I know I'm guilty of this too. You just go out buying all the pretty things. But they suggest don't do that. Just like get one. and just really start to work with that one crystal, meditate with that one crystal, and develop a bond with that one crystal, and then do other things. I mean, you can see I have crystal bracelets on, and they're all for different things. And also there's a whole concept of sacred adornment. Which hand you wear things on makes a difference. This is energy that I'm receiving, and this is energy I'm sending out. This is, I don't know if you can see that ring. Ooh, I'm gonna hold it up. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
That's a star sapphire.
okay.
But you start with different things and you just wear them. You know, I wear them. I try and meditate with them and work with them, but it's easy to get overwhelmed and say, well, they're not doing anything. And I mean, I'm still in pain. So it's like, is all this bloodstone working? I don't know.
Right.
But one of my teachers, I have two major teachers. My mentor happens to be in Toronto, and he and I talk all the time, and you know, I've seen him in person. My other person, she's in California. She actually, she'd been doing crystals and priestessing and all kinds of things since she was very young, but she was working in the real world. You know, she was a teacher, she was a college professor, and then she was doing teaching corporate people, but she was out of the country, and on one of these assignments, and she went blind, and she was diagnosed with MS, and she regained her sight, fortunately, and through Western medicine, but also through working with crystals and essential oils and everything, she's in remission from 3 major autoimmune diseases.
Wow.
And she credits that to both her Western medicine,
Right.
but also
a mixture of both.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I definitely believe that crystals work, and that, you know, I have read about like how they work, like the function behind it, how with the frequencies and vibrations and that kind of stuff. So, you know, like I have the belief is there, but I like the idea of just get one and work on it. I'm gonna do that. But I will say I didn't just get like all the pretty things, even though I did 2 things. I did one, I got pretty things, but then I also got like, okay, I want this one for minute. I'm going to meditate with this one, you know, or I'm going to do this. I did functional because I do, you know, it's like, no, why not? But I, you know,
yeah.
But yeah.
But even functional is pretty too. But I swear I'm on a, I'm putting myself in a timeout because she has these gem sales and with all this gorgeous, amazing stuff. And I've been spending too much money, and it's like, oh, stop. Must stop.
Don't go to Etsy.
Yeah.
Lots of as well. I went through this phase and I was like, I just want garnet everything. And I got all this like gorgeous stuff. And it was like from like Eastern Europe, like beautiful crystals, and I don't know. And it was great. Anyway, so that reminds me. So in the Hex for Danger, a mineral is like a very important part of the story. So what did you think about that, since you have this kind of interest in crystals and everything?
Loved it. Yeah. Oh yeah. Very important. Very important. And I don't want to say more because, one, I'm trying to remember exactly, and I don't want to give any false information, but I also don't want to spoil anything for anybody watching. But yeah, I did like that. And I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. And that kind of came from my interest in crystals and minerals, and how, you know, they have kind of like a reputation of being kind of new agey, but there's this huge like history of practical industry, you know, and so it's just funny how these things that are considered like new agey or whatever, like they have so many practical uses, you know, reasons that, okay, yes, this crystal has been used for this, you know, because like, you know, well, how can a crystal record an emotion? Well, how does it record music, you know, or you know, whatever on a TV? It's the same concept, you know.
Well, and then if we get into the sound and vibrations, because each crystal has its own vibration, and then if we get into the whole Fibonacci series, that, you know, of the what are they called? Agna. Oh, and I can't think of the name. But they're these little fossilized critters that are in that shape.
Like
the
the
same,
that goes around
yeah,
and around.
the Fibonacci circle. But
Mhm.
also Gregorian chants are in those frequencies, and
Mhm.
other things are in these sound frequencies. So that's another thing I work with is sound healing.
Yeah.
And I use that for patients too, with
Yeah.
chimes and with tuning forks that resonate at these certain vibrations.
Right.
That help. And they've been doing that since, before Gregorian chants were chanting.
Right. And that's ancient. It's an ancient technology. So I love like audio entrainment where you just listen to the frequencies. I'm going to listen to the frequency of whatever,
Yep.
or for focus or for love or gratitude. Like I do
Yep.
those a million times a day. Like for,
Yep. 174 hertz for pain.
yeah. And
Yep.
for me, those things are very, they work.
Yeah. Well, and they were using them in the Egyptian pyramids along Giza, they had several chambers that are basically acoustically designed for sound healing.
Right. And now they've got, you can go to places and get sound baths and things like that. But it's like all of that stuff, which it seems, like I said, I'm just using the term new agey or whatever, but it's like there's science behind it. There's reasons why a frequency would affect your body in a certain way and do something,
Yeah.
And so I just love that all that kind of stuff. I love it. And that's the kind of stuff I'm putting into my cozy mystery. You're like, oh, I'm here for knitting and coffee. It's like, nope, you're getting a whole bunch more.
Very good. And that's just up my alley. It's like, woohoo! Because I'm always excited to read that.
Yeah. So last thing I'll say, because we've almost been an hour and a half, which has been great. I did a chat with Lynn Cahoon. Have you read her series, her witchy series?
I have. I'm behind in it. I am behind, but I have read.
I've only read the first. I'm behind too. I read the first one, but then we had a chat, and so we just had a really great conversation. But she's very much into these types of things too. So we talked about all this kind of stuff. She was but she has like a deep interest in like we were talking about like color therapy and like the magic and the science behind colors and which we talk about how like it's an established thing. You paint your walls a certain color to be calm, or you want to increase your creativity or get kids to be alert. There's different colors that are for those things, and it's like that's a science. That's a frequency. Colors are frequency, and it affects your body in a certain way. There's a science behind that. So I just interesting.
Yeah, and also with colors, each chakra is aligned with a color, and the order is the order of the light spectrum.
Right. right. Like mind blowing. Mic drop. And on that note. Yeah. Well, I feel like we talked more about other stuff than Punchki tonight, but we started.
Yeah, we did. But eat your Punchki.
Well, you were rapping for Punchki on your shirt on it.
There's my shirt. Punchki princess. That's
really
me.
Cute. I had, when I went to Poland, my father-in-law got me this shirt. It was too big. It's just like the Polish flag. It's like bright red. It's got like the eagle flag and stuff on it. But so very red. Very red. But I like that very, it's really cute.
Yeah. I got it online here.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been really, really enjoyable. I'm so glad that we finally got to talk. So now when we chat online and on Facebook and stuff, like we have met and we have a deeper connection, I think.
Right.
I need to talk more offline about crystals because I'm going to go get some tomorrow.
Crystals, and I'll give you those dragon resources too.
Yeah, crystals and dragons and police stuff also. You are actually a walking cozy mystery yourself. Like you have given, you're like there's a former cop turned witch. Former cop, but actually, there is Kate Conti has like the store. Is it a crystal store?
Yeah, it's a crystal store. I'm behind that too. I've read the first. I think I have. Is it the second? I'm behind. But I have read the first.
Yeah, I've read the first also. But there's so many out there. Like thank God for audiobooks from me, because if I didn't have audiobooks, even though I have a bunch of books, I get audio. I listen to audiobooks, And then if I like the book, I'll probably buy the book just to put on my shelf. But if I didn't have audiobooks, I wouldn't be able to get through all the stuff that I want to hear.
See, I can't do audio because my undergraduate background is in theater.
Mhm.
And I'm very particular when it comes to voices. And if the voice just no, can't, but yeah.
It can affect it. I was going through my Audible list today, and I have a wish list, and I was just kind of listening to the sample, and there's several that I took off because I didn't like the voice. You know, I was like, but I want to still read the book, so I'll just have to get the book. But the voice doesn't have to be there. I totally agree.
Yeah. But all right, well, I still have to write my blog post, and then I have to get to bed because I have to go back to work tomorrow.
Okay, well, I hope you had a nice little vacation.
I did. I had a nice long vacation. I know it's going to be interesting when I go back. I've been gone for 2 weeks and 2 days.
Oh my God, that's nice. That's you're gonna be hating it tomorrow.
Yeah, well, especially because I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning. Yeah, and my coworker has already warned me. She's like, we have a lot to talk about when you get back. I'm like, oh.
Oh, well. I'll send you positive thoughts and vibrations.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Carry my clear crystals.
Yeah, definitely. Just put them in your pockets. Take them to work. I bet you do. Right?
Always do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been wonderful. So I'm really glad we got a chance to scramble and get this together.
Yeah, we got her done. And next time we'll plan a little bit more ahead, maybe for our next Polish holiday.
Yeah.
I think was Dingus Day the next big one? Could be.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, thank you everybody who's joined us and
Thanks everybody.
Follow me. You can check out my website at esmeaddison.com, and I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Esme Addison. And Kathleen, where are you?
I'm at cozyupwithkathy.blogspot.com and also on Facebook at Cozy Up with Kathy.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thanks. Bye.